Ooh, excuse me. Got to start this with a big yawn as is tradition. So, today, Scorpio, I'm sorry, but we're going to play in the stereotypics a little bit. I'm going to do the thing that I wanted to do last time, but last time I was like, oh, it's the new moon in Leo and the new Mayan year and such as and likewise. I spent so much time getting ready for you, Scorpio, that I forgot to get ready for you. So I got the more difficult thing to reach. Now I just need the less difficult, the thing that is more of a thin reach, but that is stubbornly blocked right now because of me. Oh, gosh. There we go. Nope. There we go. Oh, Scorpio, just indulge in the madness with me for a second, won't you? There we go. All right. So I'm going to use a deck that I got recently and a deck that I got not so recently. And I've teased this once before. The deck, the more recent of the two decks is one that was a gift. It was a gift from Matthew. It was a gift that matches a deck that I already owned at the time I received it. And it's also a gift that arrived with another gift. So I guess if you're around here and all of those clues help you to sort of realize which deck I'm going for, you probably know what I'm going to do because I did something pretty similar, I'm pretty sure, in the video. I had the Angel Tarot and the Occult Tarot for you, Scorpio. And I wanted to have like a common theme card. Oh, gosh. Let me make sure these are all upright real quick. Well, I'm going to read all the cards upright. So, like 3 cards just popped out. King of Cups, Ace of Cups, and the 5 of Swords in reverse, with the 9 of Swords at the bottom of the deck. But I'm just going to give these some shuffles. I would like to... Oh, I guess I could always put it in the middle after, which is going to be an interesting way to do this. Oh! So I ended up downloading the Rockpool Oracle app. And I was wanting to use the app. So I will. And we're going to go for 3 different singular, like 3 1-card readings. Because then if I do a 1-card reading, it'll give me a card from the decks, right? Hey, Sandra, how you doing? Ooh, I'm doing well. I went to the movies with my mom today. I'm going to read these all upright as well. The movie was all right. I like going with my mom. So that's what was important. And I was able to eat popcorn. The popcorn was so good. Last time I went to the movies, I went to go see Sonic 2, and I wasn't able to eat popcorn because my tooth was bothering me. Glad to hear it. So I'm going to attempt to use Bixby as my assistant again, Scorpio. It's a numbers game. Actually, yeah. Yeah. Let me pull this up and see. I think there are 6 entries per, and these are already shuffled. I just finished shuffling them, so I'm just going to pull the card off the top of the deck, and I might do the one from the bottom. We'll see. Actually, I'll pull the bottom cards now, and I'll set them at the top. I don't know if I'm going to do 1 or 2 or 3 of these. I kind of want to do 3, but we'll see again. how I feel when we get there. Now, I think on this app there are 6 decks per page. Yes, and there are 3 7. So, hi Bixby. Hi Bixby. Choose a number between 1 and 7.
1 second, just double checking my math. All right, looks like your number is 3.
Okay, the sound effects are coming back. I am pleased. I am pleased again. Hi Bixby. I already found it. I'm gonna go with the Aboriginal Healing deck because it. I don't know. I immediately went to it, and it felt right. So we're gonna go for the 4th card. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're gonna see what the card is. This is a healing message. You ready? Chickweed growth. Expansion, growth, and increase. Chickweed medicine encourages you to develop and grow. Growing does not occur without change, yet change can sometimes be unimaginable. For some, the power of knowing what to expect and how to control it provides. Oh, I'm sorry. I feel like I just had this. So I was talking about the movie with my brother, and I mean, I have mixed feelings. Like, I enjoyed it, but, you know, and he had mixed feelings too. So I'm like, okay, like, we may not necessarily have feelings about the same things, but at least like we're in a similar sort of spot overall. Um, and I thought the movie from the trailer, it's one of those things where it was like it very much so played up to a specific thing with the way the trailers and teasers were sent out, with the way the movie itself is set up. You think one thing when you go into the movie, but it turns out it's something else. I was like, I would have personally preferred it to be that one thing, but my brother was like, well, where is that? Like, he's like, that's been done so many times. That's not new. That's not original. That wouldn't be a twist. And I'm like, well, you could work in a different twist. The twist could be like, instead of the twist being, oh, it's not what you thought it was, like maybe there could have been a different one. I don't know. But he was like, I think sometimes you like to watch things that you can easily predict or control. And I'm like, no, I just wish it was a different movie. Like, there are genres that I like, and I thought it was in the genre that I like, and it turns out it wasn't, you know. Anyway. Anyway. So that's why when it said what to expect and control, that's what made me laugh anyway. For some, the power of knowing what to expect and how to control it provides them with a sense of security, which has become a survival technique. Be wary of interfering with survival techniques unless there are other skills with which to replace these with. What is taken away must be replaced, or else cracks begin to open up and holes begin to form. Sometimes, however, the cracks simply fill with water and provide the opportunity for new growth to begin. Upon reflection, growing is sometimes downright scary, but when you were pushed, yelling, and screaming the entire way, you landed in a far better place from which you began. Once you got your bearings, you are presented with an opportunity that was worth the traumatic experience. So we're going there. The Aboriginal Healing said, we's healing for real, for real, for real. Or y'all's healing for real, for real, for real. So let's see. On the occult side, we have Moloch, the devil, which was literally like just at the bottom of the deck. I think I had to turn this card upright because it was in reverse. Makes one worse off than ever before, tricks mortals into being bound, and accepts child sacrifice. The child being the inner child. So this just, again, it's like with the need to sort of have an explanation or to control. because of the survivability, it feels like the child that sacrificed is that sense of like exploration. It's that ability to not know and to therefore truly experience. Now, on the angel side is in reverse, but we're taking it upright. The Six of Swords, Anahuel. Number 63, the gentle God. Perception of unity, protects against accidents, and heals the sick. So this is where we're sitting around chickweed, growth and development. I keep saying we. I ain't got, but I mean, I guess I got Scorpio on my chart, but it's Pluto. So, there's a whole generation of people with Pluto and Scorpio. It's a 639. And the devil is traditionally 15, which is a 6. Oh my gosh, it's 6-3. Okay, those numbers popped up in the movie. I mean, it was 613. So in the movie, something happened like clockwork every Friday at the same time. But one day, a crowd is drawn together to take advantage of the spectacle, to profit off of the spectacle. And because of that, it happened early. And that's when you find out that it's not what you think it is. It is not what you think it is. I mean, that's not the exact moment that you find out that it's not what you think it is. But I mean, that's where doubt can enter. And then, like, after that, shortly it's confirmed because of that incident. It's confirmed that it's not what you think it is. It's not what you were hoping to see. So, what's interesting about this is, though, because the Six of Swords came out in reverse, it's almost this thing of like there's a certain perception of something that you're holding. That as long as you continue to hold that perception, viewpoint, or belief, there's a limit on how much you can grow or expand because your knowledge is already limited. It's almost like you don't allow yourself to experience the truth of something for some reason. Maybe it's because you think you already know. Maybe it's because you believe the truth will hurt. Maybe it's because you don't even know. But to sacrifice the child is also in a way to keep it from ever growing or maturing or aging. And if it's a sacrifice that doesn't involve death, then it feels like it inserts or creates like a trauma point or a trigger point where certain things stop developing past that because of an inability to comprehend sort of what's happening or what's happened. I mean, this is, guess I shouldn't, I mean, it's the Aboriginal healing. I don't know. Upon reflection, growth is sometimes downright scary, but when you were pushed, yelling and screaming the entire way, you landed in a far better place from which you began. Once you got your bearings, you were presented with an opportunity that was worth the traumatic experience. This is the traumatic experience. This is you getting your bearings, the Six of Swords, and moving beyond that. It feels like, too, there's something, I want to say atrophied um, within the self, but there's something that can be healed that it feels like, again, that it wasn't even like, it's almost like a sickness or an illness or an unease or dis-ease that you wouldn't even know that you have. There's an energy of misattribution here too. Again, because it just seems like it's easier to believe one thing rather than the truth. And when the devil energy comes in, it makes things worse than they were before. But once you move past that, it makes things better. I'm not going to be so bold or adventurous to say that it makes things better than they were before the bad thing happens, but I feel confident in at least saying that once you find your bearings and you Six of Swords, you make that movement, and it's swords, it's in the mind. It feels like it's almost like mentally. Knowing, understanding is all mental. Perception is mental. Um, that's when things get better than when they got worse. You know what I mean? So that's the first one. So let's get another one. Hi, Bixby. Choose a number between 1 and 7.
1 second, just double checking my math. Alright, looks like your number is 3.
A number is 3. I'm actually going to go, because it's still on the third page, I'm going to go for the same deck. And we're going to get another card. Maybe I should have just did 3 cards from this one deck, because then I'd be able to go back. But once I do this, it's fine. If I don't remember, then it wasn't meant to be remembered. Now we'll go for 5, the 5th card. 4, 5 feels right. 3, 4, 5. Okay. Your next card is Blackwood, flexibility. So from chickweed to blackwood, from E's to O's, from E's to Oo's. Okay. A little bit of curiosity in there. Flexibility, clarity, and advancing. Okay. Blackwood medicine encourages flexibility in thinking to clearly understand those with different points of view. Being open to others' beliefs is an admirable trait, as it demonstrates your ability to acknowledge the importance of allowing others to share their stories with you. To understand the stories of others is a humbling and beautiful trait to possess. When people are drawn to those who they believe truly understand them, they will open their heart and share their stories, knowing the listener is sharing their journey. However, this understanding can also become a double-edged sword. The challenge is when the listener becomes part of the story and also embarks on the journey. Sometimes too many journeys can take their toll, both physically and emotionally. Upon reflection, on this occasion, you suddenly became everyone's confidant. Yet inadvertently, you shouldered the responsibility of ensuring the mob remained peaceful, but this came at a cost. So we're gonna take the left card as the cost, I guess, and the right card as the what you sort of get for it. Maybe we'll see. On the left, we have the Five of Wands, Agaris. Teaches languages. So there we go. That confidant communication, listening to stories, outside perspectives and opinions, if I could speak. Causes earthquakes, overthrows politicians or clergymen, returns those who have run away. And then on the right, we have the Nine of Swords, Hariel, the comforting god, number 15. Another 6 in 15. Agaris is number 2. But, the devil card is number 15 in the tarot, and we get the 15 here. And the angel. Let me show these. These are your next 2. This is purification, protection from the impious, and religious sentiments. So this is coming in feeling like someone that you might have met in real life, or that you will meet in real life, who somehow offers you something different than all that you believe there to be. It's like it provides a perspective that you would have never considered, opinions you've never come across or heard before. It feels like it's cause for consideration. but consideration in terms of like not necessarily like being considerate of others, but consideration again in terms of like, maybe you didn't know everything, maybe there's more to the story, maybe there's something deeper, maybe there's. And we go from the Six of Swords to the Nine of Swords. So with this newfound consideration and the movement that's already occurred from last time with the growth and healing, it feels like, Scorpio, you are coming upon, or you're going to find your boundaries. Now, these boundaries almost feel a little bit more like devil chains, like the chains that the devil and the devil cards typically hold us with, that we can easily slip off, right? More often than not, it's illustrated that way. It just feels like you're going to find, I don't know if this is one of those little things that shape so much of how you view reality, life, and your ability to navigate it. But like that's what it feels like you're gonna find. It feels like, oh, I used to believe this, or I used to think that this was true, and because of that all of these other things were true. Now I can see how limited my experience was in these ways because of things that I didn't even know to begin to question. Because it's almost like there were these areas where thoughts would sort of it's like an autopilot type of energy almost, but it's like it's just things that you would never think to question. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Um, it's just areas where it's like because we were told a certain thing growing up, because we were raised a certain way, because we believe a certain thing, it's like they're these automatically generated responses, and it's because of certain automatically generated responses, because of certain beliefs held. These could even be beliefs about you and who you are, like self-worthy, self-value, like I could never do this, I could never do that, I have to do this because whatever. Like these beliefs could be anything, but because of that it feels like whenever it came time to go further, so it's like a growth cap. If you're a cell, you'd be a plant cell. You can grow and grow and grow and grow until you hit the cell wall. After you hit the cell wall, you can't grow anymore. And in plants, when a plant is healthy and strong instead of wilted and weak, that turgor pressure is the pressure of the cell membrane pushing up against the cell wall, right? It's like blowing up a balloon. When the balloon is full of air, it's full. When you're at your sort of limit, then it feels like that's where a certain rigidity hits. I almost want to grab a tower just to like break this up. And I have another angel deck, so I'm going to grab that one and we're going to try. We're going to stay on brand. You will be relieved to know, or at least I'm relieved to know that. Oh, wait. No, that's Oracle deck. I was gonna say I don't have any more like Demon Tarot cards, but I do have the Demon Tarot, but it's like Oracle cards. So I actually have the book just in case I want a little bit more information or insight. I'm gonna also take this one as it is. So the reason why I take stuff as it is sometimes is because I believe that in a certain way, let's call it predestination. Well, it's partially predestination. It's partially like I believe that I'm gonna see whatever I need to see to get where I'm going. You know what I mean? So here, it's like we're already on the path here. Before, like I don't even know when the last time I used this deck was. Eight of Michael right there. Eight of Swords for the 6 and the 9. Um, but it's like even back then, this moment was already known, basically. And because I don't know, it works for me. So we're going to go with 16. And since I'm actually using this deck, it's not going to have the title of Tower. So it might actually be gentler than what we typically think of the Tower as. If I can find it. The majors are purple in this deck, so that helps. I feel like I'm finding every card except for the one. Is it in this deck? I literally have this many cards left, and these are all the cards I looked through. So to me, that reads like it's like you're closer to a breakthrough or closer to a realization than you might think. You might actually know this. I wouldn't be surprised if you do, because again, now we're sitting in this space where it's like something or someone is leading you to believe that there might be more to something than you thought there was. And you're starting to see the limitations of holding that belief. So breakthrough might just be a choice or decision. Oh, look, it's literally right here. Literally right behind the Eight of Michael, Eight of Swords are the three cards I need. And they're cups. You get the Knight of Cups, Knight of Raphael, and the Five of Cups, Five of Raphael. Five Raphaels to combat the Five Wands. Or balance out. I like balance out more than combat. So 16 in this deck is change your life. Again, that change your life, it feels like it speaks to the amount of control that this one belief or this one thing holds over your life because of the choices and decisions that you make with the assumption that thing is that thing is true and infallible. The Knight of Raphael is romantic, dramatic, poetic, and introspective. Committed romantic relationships, being swept off your feet, situations or topics that make your heart flutter. This is actually it's giving me a little death card energy, but it's like a like transformation instead of like death. Like emphasis on the transformation or rebirth part of like death and transformation or death and rebirth. And then the Five of Raphael, everything happens for a reason. Release regret and embrace the opportunities for happiness. Search for the silver lining. So this is gorgeous. Definitely, definitely that rebirth. We'll read the Change Your Life as Archangel Camuel. A sudden revelation that offers freedom. Break free of procrastination. Embrace the opportunities that change brings. We just had growth and change previously. We're on theme. See, this is like when I was telling you with the whole like predestination / I'll get what I need so it doesn't really matter type thing. This confirms what we were already talking about back in the last time with the growth and the change. Okay, see, it's on brand, it's on topic, it's on theme. Sometimes you don't have to go far from home to find what you need to leave. And I think it's because the child is sacrificed or because the child is held captive. Because the child is held captive, it does kind of sort of make it. There is this thread where it's like you may already know what you need to know. You may already have what you need to have. It's just the point where you decide to use it. It's the point where you decide to let something go. And maybe it is just like I don't know if it's necessarily a fear of the unknown as much as it is a semblance of control that you have. Like you know what to expect. I don't think those two things are necessarily inextricably linked. I think they can be mutually exclusive. Sometimes it is more of a control thing than a fear thing. You know what I mean? It's like rather than going for an experience that you don't know if you'll like or not, sticking to the ones that you know you'll enjoy, right? I guess that's what a fear of not enjoying something, or sure, whatever. It feels like it's different. The motivation is different. Everything happens for. Oh wait, it was the embrace the opportunities for happiness, followed by embrace the opportunities that change brings. So change is bringing an opportunity for happiness. That's asking you to embrace it. When you do embrace it, that's what changes this from like a death to like a rebirth, transformation energy. It's the motivation, it's the focus. So the motivation and the focus is going to be heavy, or it's going to be important and in at least some part and some way. I think again that's why we're so heavy in the swords. So now let's get our third card. We'll see if we'll get a 3 for 3 with the 3 3 3. Hi Bixby. Choose a number between 1 and 7.
1 second, just double checking my math.
Already see it.
All right, looks like your number is 2.
I can read it. That's how I know. Hi Bixby. Roll a d6.
I didn't understand.
Why do you not know how to roll dice anymore? Do y'all remember how excited I was that when Bixby rolled dice, it made the dice rolling noise? Hi Bixby. Choose a random number between 1 and 6.
Processing some equations.
It's 4. Okay. He was going to say 4. I don't have to wait. I could have waited so that you know, but... So we're going to the fourth one on the second page. That's how we do it. We go across. So page 2. The fourth one, Mists of Avalon, is where we're getting our final card. So we do all of that healing. I love this. I love this because we do all of the healing, that the growth and the outside perspectives and stuff like that, right? First was the growth expansion. Then it was realizing your own limitations. Now we're entering the mists of Avalon. We're entering the fog that lies outside of everything that we know. So I hope you got your brave pants on, or your brave skirt, or your brave shorts, or your brave underwear, your brave bottoms. I hope you're a brave bottom, Scorpio. Sorry, it's time to be a brave bottom. That's what I'm gonna title this. I'm kidding. Oh, the first card. Why not? So the Abbey is where I'm charging my phone. So there you go. Boom, the Abbey. It leads you to the Abbey, Scorpio. Interconnectedness. So again, we just had the thing last time that was about connecting with others. No, interconnectedness. I love how the flow. I love the consistency. Purpose, serenity, and shared blessings. You shall never be given more than is deserved or beyond your abilities at any time. Reflect on all decisions you've made on your life journey so far. You are called to create a new path that is more spiritually aligned with your current belief system. Thank you. I'm sorry. It's just like stroking my ego a little bit. Because sometimes I'm like, ooh, I hope this work out. More often than not, it does. I'm with you on this, Scorpio. Like I said, I got Pluto and Scorpio, and it's a time for transformation all over. But let's focus on the rebirth, you know, rather than the death. We've died enough. Let's live now. Do not operate from your past mindset. You cannot create anything new if you think, feel, and do things the same way you've always done them. The ruins of the Abbey stand as a reminder that our time is limited on this earthly plane. This is the time to live your life on your terms. Reflect on the card of the Abbey. beneath whose sacred grounds lie the early remains of Joseph of Arimathea, keeper of the Holy Grail, and the royal couple Arthur and Guinevere, who are buried here amid ancient yew trees. New possibilities and new beginnings are about to manifest, but not until you've taken the time to reflect. The seed that has been lying dormant now wants to take root. But for that to happen, you must first release all that no longer serves you and is no longer relevant in your life. In other words, your old life has run its course, like those of Guinevere and Arthur in their resting place at the Abbey ruins. The Abbey card asks that you find a retreat from the frenetic pace of everyday life and consider these questions. Have you lived your life well? Have you loved well? Have you been authentically you? Take time out to nourish your spirit. Spend time in solitude and silence. Like an ancient temple of Avalon, the Abbey is a reminder of our life cycles and that you must do your soul's work while here on earth. Consider the essence of you, your actions and your energy that you leave behind. Use this time and space to reflect on what you want from your life, all that is missing, and all that you want to leave behind as your legacy. Once you've done all this, you will move on to the next stage of your life's journey. And then the last line, it says, I know myself well and I live an authentic life. So all of this, it feels like what this is boiling down to, Scorpio, it's a realization that you've changed. You are realizing how much you've changed. And it almost feels like there's a question of like, how dedicated to your old self or your old life or your old ways of going about things do you want to be? Now, it would seem that since you have changed, number one, and since you've recognized how much you've changed, number two, that there's going to probably be a certain element of dissatisfaction with continuing to do things the way that you had in the past. And it's one that will only sort of grow and grow and grow and increase until you start to live as you now, rather than the you were. So I'd be tempted to say that your child is already free. And it feels like your child may actually be out in the world already living life. You have to go out and meet it. And in that vein, it feels like there's something that your inner self, because I'm not going to say inner child anymore, because, there's something that your inner self has found somewhere. And it feels like it's going to try to lead you or pull you to it in a way. Very much like the siren in Sagittarius 3. But in Sagittarius 3, it almost felt like something a little bit more external. For you, Scorpio, it feels like it's the part of you that has been freed, that's already energetically out where in the space that resonates. So, I mean, for Scorpio, it feels like almost follow the fun or follow the resonance, follow what makes you excited and happy, follow what it feels like you when you feel it, And maybe you're already doing this. And this is a message to keep up the good work. Another 5. So we've seen the 5 of Wands. We've seen the 5 of Raphael. 5. Oh, this is not surprising. Okay. Every single angel is a sword. The 5 of Swords is your angel. Ayahel or Yahoo. I don't know how to pronounce it. Number 62. And we have the 63. So the 6 of Swords is number 63. The 5 of Swords is number 62. It's a step down, it's a step back. But since the inner child and the inner self is such a huge sort of part of this message, it's more of like a return to self type of energy. And maybe the person that you were in the past was who you were at that time. And so it's not, it feels like there might be some kind of mental entanglement when it comes to like Scorpio and authenticity. But when you realize that you grow, change, and evolve over time as you live life as a result of certain experiences, it doesn't make you any less authentically you to show that, to like live out or to react upon those changes as they happen. It's almost like there could be some kind of forced rigidity that Scorpio is putting on itself or had put on itself. I mean, I don't know why. It could be a number of reasons. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that every single angel came out in swords. Six of swords, nine of swords, five of swords. And then another occult tarot in reverse, just like how we started with Moloch in reverse. It's the Ten of Pentacles, Barbados in reverse. And he is number 8. Oh, look, 8, 8. 2, 8. And a plane 8. The plane 8, though, it has no spiritual influence. For me, 10's place is spirit, 1's place is earth. So it's an 8 all within our own understanding. Rather than the 62-8 with the 6 being in the place of like spirit, there's like this harmony in spirit. Again, it's the inner self that is already found the energy that resonates with it before the physical self has sort of necessarily found it. And with this too, I don't know if it's like you're holding a fixed distance from that. It's almost like if you have what do you call them? It's like a drawing compass, I guess. When you have the drawing compass and you have your fixed point, and then you put the pencil on here, and you just like you do like that to make the circle. It feels like it's almost that kind of energy where it's like there is movement, but it doesn't feel like it gets closer because it's like it's in the center, it's in the middle, it's in the eye, it's the capital I. So the only way to really get to it is to go like straight in. But I don't even necessarily know if that's like without a topographical or without a map. It's almost like you wouldn't even know that you're just like completing this circle around it. But that makes me think of in statistics. Oh, it's like I had to do it. Speaking of topography, it's like when we had like there was this process and there were a bunch of variables and we had to use like ANOVA tables and stuff like that, analysis of variance. We had to set up the experiment where it's like you find out first, you got to find out which variables, which parameters actually affect the outcome. And you can do that by setting first, you change one at a time. This is just the thing. It might not be how you do it in real life. You want to change one thing at a time so you can isolate each change to a specific cause. And you set it high and you set it low. And if you have a high one and a low one and the outcome is the same, you can relatively safely assume that that one variable is not going to affect the outcome. So after you roll all the ones that don't affect the outcome, then it's like you can vary those in increments. And if your outcome, it depends on if you want to maximize or minimize. If your outcome is getting bigger, then you know you're going in the right direction. If it's getting, and you want to maximize. If it's getting smaller, you know you're not going in the right direction. So even though you don't know the topography, you can continuously make these changes to like reorient yourself to get to the outcome that you want. And as you're doing that, there may be different beliefs that come up, or you may see, because it does almost read as like one central thing, kind of. And we are sort of like limiting the variables So maybe a few, where it's like, okay, after this point, maybe you max one of them out as you're sort of like trying to reorient. It's like, okay, now that I'm here, it doesn't matter if I change it anymore. Like, I know where this one variable goes. Let me move on to the next one. It just, I guess, back to my original point, it feels like you might experience more of like, I don't know if it's like something that you do or if it's just a willingness for you to listen to something that's like, oh, I would have never done this before. I would have never done that before. I didn't even think that this was possible before because I believed, because I held to blah, 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 whatever, right? Now, five being a number of change is a good thing. I mean, it can be a good thing. What makes this Five of Swords difficult is, again, it's that we're dealing with belief. And for people, belief isn't necessarily always an easy thing to change. Now, this Ten of Pentacles understands the tongues of animals, uncovers treasures hidden by magicians, and reconciles friends and enemies is Barbados. And it's the Ten of Pentacles, it's the Ten of Earth. It's interesting that we have the understanding of animals because the previous one, Agaris, was teaches languages. And when it was teaching languages, it was about the shared experiences. It was about listening to other people. It's like now, not only can you listen to other people, maybe it's because you get so good at incorporating different viewpoints to complete pieces of the puzzle. It's almost like this thing where, again, as you're maximizing and minimizing and pivoting, like you find what resonates for you to what degree and you like focus on those things. It's almost like fine adjustments on a thing if all of this is for clarity. um and it's like when you get really good with people, then your mind opens up enough that there are things in like the natural world that you start to notice, or there it's like you realize or understand new ways that the universe, the divine, is communicating to you through your lived experience, or it's just a more subtle intuition that you can more consciously sort of like tap into. It's an increase in sensitivity in a good way. um but it feels like to put all of that solely into the physical, to put all of that solely into the tangible, would be to encounter more obstacles and roadblocks eventually. Maybe there's a point where you learn it, so like you're really about it. But again, even if the universe, even if the divine can communicate through to you through your physical reality in a more direct way, there are still the limitation of our understanding. And I've been watching the show recently, and in this show, like there's this a question that sort of comes up every now and then, or a theme that plays up, is that like, is God actually really listening? And they're like, well, he doesn't talk back. And then people be like, well, there are these other things that like I know he's sort of listening because of these experiences that I have, and no, like he's not talking to me like he's like you're talking to me right now. But if you know how to listen, you'll hear his voice. And the other night, maybe last night, maybe the night before, I was thinking about when I was an RA at Purdue. And the year I was an RA, they were big on the Chicago principles. And it was basically like university employees or representatives couldn't limit like the free speech of anybody. And so there were like some controversial people who would come to campus and stand on their soapbox and say things that upset people. And for a time, they were disallowed. But under the Chicago principles, they were allowed because it was like a freedom of speech thing, which is great, which was amazing. But one day, I was hosting a game night because that's what I did on my floor. And it's very like fill in the blank. It's Jackbox. So anybody can say anything. And things got kind of like, not like capital R racist, but like very uncomfortable. But because of the Chicago principle, since I was an RA and I represented the university and I held a certain amount of authority, I wasn't allowed to say anything. And it's because, like, when a student encounters someone or interacts with someone who is a representative of the university, it's like they default to whatever that person is saying, or they hold that as like law, the law of the land. And we're not allowed to restrict people, so we can't say anything. So I'm just sitting there in this like super uncomfortable experience, not because there were people affected by these jokes in the room. And it's like, I'm like, well, I can't even really say anything. I just have to sit here like silent and complicit and have to like allow this in my own room in this event that I'm hosting. And then I go to my boss and I'm like, in cases like this, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say? And she's like, well, because of the principles, you're not really allowed to say anything to like reprimand, but you can be like, I don't get it. Like, why is this funny? You can use this super indirect approach to basically, talk about whatever. It was just very uncomfortable. No problem. Welcome. How you doing? And so it's almost like that. It's like if we were to receive direct communication that was inconfusable or whatever, would that not be a violation of our free will? You know what I mean? Like, we're supposed to have free will. If God was like, do this, some people would say no. And by some people, I don't necessarily mean me. But it's like, it's just that, like, if it were to be as direct as we would like it to be sometimes, then it would take away our choice. But it takes away our choice because of how we hold it up to the light. I guess if we want to talk about pedestaling, it can be because of how we pedestal. And like pedestaling God is, or like the universe or spirit or Jesus is like, it's weird to say it that way. Um, but part of the whole thing is that we choose to serve, we choose to abide, you know. That's why we have will. Like, what's the point of creating things to just do what you want? What's the point if it's not genuine or authentic, right? It just made me think of that. Okay. Now, how does that fit in here? Maybe it's a person that's behind this belief system that you're learning to live outside of. Or maybe it's a time for you to discover who you are. I want to say in a deeper, richer, more complex way. Um, but yeah, anyway, that was a whole tangent and a half. That was a very uncomfortable experience, though. And I'm like, okay. Something very interesting does happen, though, Scorpio. Oh, it's because of the other people. So Hariel, the Nine of Swords, came out with the card that was it Blackwood, which was about like listening to other people, other perspectives and stuff. So we see the angel and we see two others. We see three people in total, right? And the Five of Swords, again, we see three people in total. But this time, it's weird because it's almost like a chariot sort of energy. So I read this as it's almost like there are times when we make our own choices and decisions. There are times where we do what we want to do. And then there are times that we recognize where someone or something or some being with more insight It's like learning when to defer to the judgment of another. And rather than like just handing them that power to decide things for you, it's more of a conversation. And so there are parts where it's like you freely navigate, you do whatever. It's like being an adult. There are times where you do what you want to do, and then there are times where you do what you need to do, or you do what you have to do to have food, shelter, clothing, whatever. And it's not necessarily to the level of selling out. It's not necessarily to the level of being like oppressed or suppressed by some system. But it's just like in life, there are times where we get to do what we want. There are times where we have to do what we need to do. There are times where those two things are one and the same. It's just like being responsible. You learn to be responsible, I guess. And like a child who leaves the home of their parents, learning to be responsible. I mean, you can learn the same thing even if like you don't leave the home, but it's like when you reach a certain age, when you reach a certain point of maturity, and not maturity in like a judgy way, but maturity just like in the process of maturation of being an individual. At some point, you learn to think for yourself, to rationalize for yourself, and to make choices and decisions for yourself. And sometimes the choice and decision that you make is one that someone might tell you to do, but you make that choice and decision from an informed place. Let's just say, "Hey, David, how you doing?" So that's all of this. This is it's actually I feel like there's also this thread or there's this thing outside of this in particular where it's very like it's that Knight of Raphael, it's the horse of like transformation and the horse of rebirth rather than like the horse of death. Where it feels like you and that energy in some way, shape, and form helps you be in a position to change the world around you. So it's like not only are you approaching the place of resonance to your life, and you're also improving the world and the lives of people along the way. So, I mean, because it's not necessarily easy things, and it sounds like something that a lot of us are going to be going through if we haven't already gone through it. And it's something that, as long as we're alive, we can go through again because some truths are ever evolving. And even if the truths don't evolve necessarily, we do, right? Some of us, I guess, if we choose to. So that's you, Scorpio. Let's see what was at the bottom of the deck. The Fool and the Moon. So you get Cameo number 53, which is another 8. Cameo is gives understanding of animals and the voice of the waters, answers of things to come. So there we go again with animals. Now it's the water. And when it was just animals, I was like, it feels like the natural world at large. It's people, it's animals, like literally. I guess in some way, it's almost like being able to read life. It feels like being able to, like, when you look at life, it looks like code. You know what I mean? That's one of those. That's for you, Scorpio. Like in my mind, I get it. In my mind, I understand the metaphor. But how that metaphor translates, that's where my brain goes like, that's for Scorpio. And then the moon is Gabriel, which is interesting because I feel like Gabriel is a name that's popping up here for me quite a bit recently. It's the moon, Gabriel. You have the full and the moon. Divine revelation reveals messages and has the power to destroy. Divine revelation and reveals messages. Again, it feels like it's reading between the fine print. Reading, not only just reading between the lines, reading between the fine print. You know what I mean? And has the power to destroy. I feel like it's the power of your transformation. You know, it's the fool. Maybe it destroys ignorance or something. You know, who knows? No problem. Answers of things to come. That is interesting, Scorpio. And the moon is here too. You get revelations, revealing messages, and answers of things to come. Okay. So, Scorpio, all the best with this. I truly, genuinely wish you the ability to, the courage to, the strength to, what did I say? Be a brave bottom. To be open. And to be open to not only allowing yourself to be, but to be open to allowing yourself to be received. I don't know. All right, thanks, David and Red Sun and Sandra for being here. I will catch y'all in the next one. Until that time, I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. And I hope you're having a good one. If you're not, I hope you have a better one. Unless you don't want to have a better one, then I hope you have whatever experience you want to have. Because who am I to wish any better for you than you want for yourself?